Hi guys. So today we're going to talk about a topic that's been called the overlooked sin. This is a more difficult topic because it can tend to be offensive. But when I started this channel, I decided that I would talk about the hard topics. And so today we are going to talk about why gluttony is worse than other sins and addictions. First, I must say that gluttony is not reserved for overweight people. Skinny people can be gluttons too. They just hide it better. So here are some reasons why gluttony is so hard to overcome. Number one, it's become socially acceptable and even praised. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but if you go to any shopping center now, you will see that the mannequins are overweight. They actually make obese mannequins. There are celebrities that are praised for being overweight, that brag about being overweight. It's just become a popular thing. We even have buffets. And I'm not against buffets. I enjoy a buffet on occasion, but we should not be promoting overeating in any way. The second reason that gluttony can be one of the hardest sins to break is that food is a necessity. So you cannot avoid food as a drug addict would avoid a drug dealer or an alcoholic would avoid a bar. You're surrounded by food all the time and you need it for life. So it's going to be a harder thing because you really have to get to the core of the addiction. You really have to change spiritually. You have to break that chain, that attachment to food. The third reason why gluttony is one of the hardest addictions to break is because sugar can be just as addictive as the opioid heroin. Now, I've seen this in my own life. If I have something sweet, I notice how the craving will come on throughout my day. So I've made conscious decisions to avoid sugar so that I don't get those high cravings. And by the way, this can happen with sugar substitutes as well. I know that recently stevia and monk fruit and all these sugar substitutes have become so popular, and sure, they are a help to people, but they can also be enablers because the root of the problem is the lack of self-control, and you'll never get to it if you're always feeding the beast. The fourth reason why gluttony is one of the hardest sins or addictions to overcome is because it has many common enablers. One of those things is holiday season. People will often say, well, it's okay because it's the holiday, it's Thanksgiving. What happens Thanksgiving? Food is thrown at us practically. And we're visiting all of our relatives and there are all different types of desserts and we just want to dive right in. And that's okay to enjoy a little bit of this and a little bit of that, but we should always be conscious of our health. When it's not Thanksgiving, then it's a baby shower, then it's our friends' children's birthday parties. And if we keep making those excuses, then it turns into a big problem. But the Bible doesn't say that gluttony is okay during the holiday. It says that gluttony is wrong all the time. So just as we shouldn't have one too many drinks, just as we shouldn't lust, anything that takes control of us is wrong in any circumstance. Number 5, gluttony is a silent killer. And this makes it hard. For example, with drunkenness, you can see how it affects you right away. Same thing with drug use. But with overeating, you don't really see the effects of it until years and years later when you have diabetes, when you have high cholesterol, when you have high blood pressure, when you have a stroke. All these things happen when you are obese and you put all this pressure on your body. And there are numerous things that happen to people from overeating and they're just not talked about. Just even the way you feel is affected. And so God gives us these guidelines for a reason. He doesn't want anything to master us other than Him. Also, it's easy for people to point to addictions and say, well, this was passed down physically in my family. I've heard people say, well, I'm more susceptible to alcoholism because my father was an alcoholic, and so on. What we miss is the spiritual connection. And I've seen this even in my own life. With my father, he actually was an alcoholic, and I was very drawn to alcohol before I was a Christian, or I should say maybe before I grew in the Lord. I was very drawn to it in an unhealthy way. I had to pray about it. And that's what I want to say next. If you do everything that you can to overcome overeating, if you exercise, if you change your diet, if you forget to repent, you have to actually ask God to forgive you. And secondly, ask for his help. Ask him to give you that supernatural power to break that chain in your life so that you won't be a slave to food and drink forever. Don't let the world tell you that this is normal and okay, because in the end, you are going to suffer from it physically, spiritually, and you can also pass this down to your children. This can be something that attaches to them. As with any other sin, Jesus wants you to conquer this. He wants you to defeat this. And as ladies going through pregnancy, that's one time where I saw I was having some issues. You know, when I was pregnant, I gave myself a little wiggle room. I said, ooh, I'm pregnant. I can have a little extra sweets. I can eat a little extra. But you know, that habit tried to attach itself to me when I was no longer pregnant. I started noticing like, whoa, I'm giving in to sugar a little bit more lately. And sometimes just recognizing that something is sinful will help you have the motivation to overcome it. Because if the world says, hey, this is normal, this is okay, enjoy, you get one life, just eat, just get big, it's okay. No, it's not. And God doesn't want you to be a slave to anything. So I hope that you can overcome this and that you can overcome any addiction that might have a hold on you in your life. Thank you for listening. God bless.